I decided to go for another run today. It's Sunday. Just absolutely beautiful weather out. Sun's just starting to set. Moon's just coming out there. I want to talk about something just a little bit earlier today. I was just cleaning up after dinner, and I was just looking out, and I could see my two little kids playing in the pool, just so carefree and just loving life. And I just thought how grateful I am that I get to live this blessed life. With all the issues politically that have been going on here in Canada, I don't have to worry about threats of war or major violence happening. I live in a nice, safe area, and I mean, this is again back here at Mount Trashmore, but this is literally in my backyard. I walk out my house, go down 2 houses down the street, and I'm at the entrance to the parks. And such an amazing place. Like I said, it's got bike ramps. My kids bring their remote control cars here and go on the little ramps with the remote control cars. There's a skate park here, and my kids are always coming here playing soccer with all their friends and playing baseball. So yeah, definitely how lucky I am. You think about the past generations and some of the trials and tribulations that they would have had to go through, coming to this country, 100 years ago, wherever it was, and all the hardship they had to do, literally building this country, brick by brick with their bare hands. Tools, were sparse, and definitely didn't have any heavy equipment like we get to use nowadays on construction sites, and I get to use. Look at that sky, crazy. There was something I saw today, and I was watching a video earlier today, and someone made the point that today you should act like the best friend of your future self. And whatever you do today, you have to keep in mind that is going to greatly increase the chances of your best friend, who's your future self, from achieving their goals. So if you just think about that right now, you got your best friend, how would you want to help them out, and do that for yourself. So whether it's hitting the gym, going for a walk, just changing your diet up, spending more time with your family. I always work crazy hours, but I try to switch the way I do things. So if I leave my house earlier in the morning and then do my long drive that way, then I don't have to, if I leave my house at 7 in the morning, then I'll get home at like 5, 6, who knows, at night when I have to do a long drive. But if I leave my house at 4:35 in the morning, I get to our first site at 7. I'll get down there sooner, I'll get home sooner. So just offsetting my hours means I get to be home in time for things like my kids' soccer games, which sometimes, that it is what it is. And you shouldn't feel bad if you have to miss those sometimes. That's life. And, if you miss 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 or 10, if you're there for, to see your kids play every once in a while, they're going to remember those times that you were there. I mean, I've got 3 boys. Fortunately, my 2 are a year apart, so they play soccer together. But my oldest, fortunately, he plays the same day that my others, and I got to coach my younger kids this year because they were short coaches. But last year, I made sure I went to every single one of his games, and just again talk about gratitude. I'm so grateful to my former self, that my former self put in all that work. Years and years ago. I'm going to turn 40 this year. And my future self, or my past self, they were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to afford my first house, and then set us up for success to then buy our second house, and which we then rented out and made some extra income that way. So again, thanks to my former self that put in all that hard work to learn how to renovate a house and be able to provide a great living environment for me. Now, I don't have to work those crazy hours all the time because I put in all those reps years ago to make sure to set myself up right now. And as well, my wife as well has a big part in that. I have to thank my wife's former self and have such gratitude for all the work she's put in over the years as well, to make sure that while I'm working those crazy hours, and she's working crazy hours too as a nurse, and through the lockdowns and everything we had, like such a stressful time that she's also had throughout her career. But I'm just so lucky when I look at my kids, like I was saying, that they don't have the same stresses and the same worries that we had as we were kids. They can live a much more carefree life, even with everything, all the ups and downs of having social media and all that stuff. I mean, my kids are better connected now with their friends than I ever was. They have all these group chats together, and their friends that have even moved away when they come into town, because they still hang out with each other. And these kids race home every day so that they can hop online and talk to their friends that have moved away, so that they can so they maintain that relationship and play together. And it's amazing to see these kids helping each other out, how to install a new program on a computer, or setting up their Discord. Like this stuff, I don't even know what they're doing half the time. And they don't get a lot of that training in school like we did. Computers were a big thing, just coming in. We had typing courses and all that stuff. And then the lockdowns and all that, when they were at home, kind of missed all that. And now they've got I call it the Chromebook generation of kids in high school, where all they do is use Chromebooks. And they don't get that knowledge like we used to on using a Windows system and how to use a proper file system. And I see it with guys at work that have never really used a computer, and all of a sudden they got to use a computer for work, and they're lost, and their file systems is just horrible organization because they never learned those basics. But also, as technology changes, so you can just throw everything into a Google Drive and you just do a quick search. And we didn't have that luxury back in the day. We had to make sure. I remember still doing stuff on DOS, trying to find like a Commodore 64 computer, and trying to find a file, and you have to make sure you kept copious notes on where to find these things. But I mean, yeah, technology just keeps changing. Life keeps changing. I mean, look at this. I'm out for a walk with this 4K iPhone 16 Pro, recording this video right now. You think about what someone used to have to do back in the day. They'd have a whole camera rig driving behind them with all these operators and trying to get power to do that. And I mean, when I'm done here, I can easily just edit it on my phone while I'm still walking home, upload it to YouTube, throw it into CapCut, and now with AI, just tell it to start splitting up into the clips that it thinks, and then I'll go through and then I'll move stuff around and do some physical editing myself. But man, how lucky is that? I remember I wanted to start like a podcast and all that, and YouTube videos, a year or two ago, and it was just so daunting to think about the work that was going to be involved with it. And I've done video editing for people. I used to edit people's home videos and stuff back in the day, just for fun, because I wanted to learn how to do this stuff. I wanted to learn how to do Photoshop, just because I thought it was a cool skill. And I had some friends that were into graphic design, so kind of asked them some questions, and then away I went, just with, again, putting in those reps, those 10,000 hours, which is pretty cool, because then my oldest son was doing digital media business, and he had to do Photoshop stuff. So it was cool that I got to show him. So then he wasn't even learning. Like I said, these kids are just using Chromebooks, like trying to do Photoshop on a Chromebook with just a trackpad and no mouse. Absolutely brutal. I say, told him, hop on my MacBook Pro with a mouse. A lot more easier to trace around things and highlight things, and with different keystrokes and stuff like that. Way easier. He's like, oh my God, why aren't we showing this at school, right? Exactly. But you don't know if you don't know until you know. So now I've showed him, and maybe maybe his teacher doesn't know. But that's just the whole thing, right? Like, how much experience do teachers have nowadays? Some of these teachers are just thrown into these courses, and technology, as it keeps changing, the teachers have to stay on top of all this stuff. So there's only so many hours in a day, and if you don't have an extreme love for something, you're maybe not putting in all those extra hours. Where someone like me, I love doing all that stuff, Photoshop and playing around. I mean, I use AI just to make a lot of stuff, but sometimes I'm like, if I can't within 2 or 3 prompts get an AI to do what I want, I'll just tell it to just do something, maybe like a bulk, like just give me this font real quick, and then I can throw it into something like Photoshop and just edit it real quick. And so, I mean, there's always limitations until these things keep getting smarter and smarter, which they will. And how lucky are we that we're in a day and age where this stuff just keeps getting smarter and smarter. Like, look at this. So this is the park here, McLennan Park. So up there's Mount Trashmore. I just came down, and anyways, these guys are playing volleyball. You got a volleyball net set up there. You can set up whatever you want. There's a gazebo. There's a splash pad. There's all these trails. It's actually pretty cool. Take your bike around, loop around, skateboard, rollerblades. My kids will come walking the dog down this pathway, so we'll take the short path. My kids will just do figure eights around the park. So yeah, like how lucky am I that this is literally 3 houses down from me, 2-3 houses down from me, depends how you want to calculate it. And this is where I get to come walking and running. So I was training last year for my triathlon. Man, my last, absolutely, you talk about mental toughness. Those last 2 kilometers, I had to do 1,500 meter swim. That took me about 50 minutes. I had to do a 40 kilometer bike, which the biking was all right. It kind of got monotonous, but the biking's all right. And I didn't do a lot of biking. I hadn't biked for years, and then I started training last year. Did a little bit at the gym, and then then started training big with my bike. And then, I mean, I do lots of running because I'd done a marathon stuff before. That was mentally tough as well. But with me, when I see somebody in front of me, I make sure that I always want to, that's the best, is when I can see someone right in front of me, because I always want to pass them. So when I was doing my marathon, it's like, yes. And I definitely didn't train enough. I didn't probably have the right diet. My knee was hurting just because you're always running on an angle on the streets. So my one knee was just brutal from taking that pounding, because you're always never stretching both legs properly. Anyways, but I kept seeing a guy in front of me, so I'd just always be pushing. So, but again, how lucky am I that, you know, my previous self, years before that, you know, decided to start running. And again, that was all based off of, I had someone I knew, and they had run a 5 kilometer race, and I was like, oh my god, 5K, that sounded so crazy. Not realizing I used to do there's this one path, I don't live far from my parents' house, but there's this one run that I used to do from my parents' house down to this end of this pathway, and then back. And turns out that's like, one way is just over 2 kilometers. So actually I was always running like 4 point whatever kilometers. So actually when I ended up doing the 5K, I was just like, oh, that's it. I mean, I'd already been training it, not realizing that I'd been training for that. And then you get into, okay, now let's do a 10K. And again, it's all the baby steps, right? Putting in the reps and getting a proper training plan. It's cool now we got AI, but back then I was just doing stuff, just searching on Google, like, training plan to run a 10K or half marathon, and it would give me a training plan to be like, 45 days to, and I'd be like, 45 days. Again, like, I'm like, man, I can't spend 45 days training for that. How about a 30 day? And it's like, how about a 20 day? And it's things like, it's not advisable to do that in 20 days. So you kind of play around with it. But yeah, just all those incremental steps, right? You run a 10K. I remember, first time I ran a 10K, and then 12K. And that was the longest run I did before I ran my half marathon, which is 22 kilometers, I think, something like that. I did pretty good there. I was fifth in my age bracket out of like 20, so that was pretty good. I can't remember what number I was for when I did my marathon. It was like over 4 hours, so it was brutal. I think I started training just before COVID hit. I started training again in like February of that year to do a marathon again. I got a treadmill at home, so I started doing my trainings for that, putting in the kilometers. But then anyways, the lockdown happened, and then I kind of fell off of it, and then I kind of fell off of working out too, and kind of got out of shape. That's why I wanted to push myself last year. And originally last year I was just, and man, it had been, I'm not even kidding you, it had been since I ran my marathon, I had wanted to do a triathlon. And talk about like trying to push yourself. Like I was just like, it was like, what's the the shortest triathlon. It's like, try. I was like, ooh, that's easy. You know, like 400-meter swim, and I don't know what it is, 10-kilometer bike and like 2-kilometer run. I mean, but then I started training, and I was only going to do, they call it a sprint triathlon, which is like half. I think it's half of a regular triathlon. And I started doing laps, and I was just doing laps in my pool. And all of a sudden I got to 50 minutes straight one day. Like, and it was just all incremental, right? Like 10 minutes turned into 20, turned into 30. And I would just set the timer and go. Set an alarm too, because I always want to make sure I was getting my 30 minutes in every day, because I was doing my workout challenge. So I want to get 30 minutes in every day when I was doing swimming. And then one day I just let it go. And I would play music, so I could hear music. So every time I knew a song, I knew it was like 2.5 to 3 minutes. So I knew every 3 to 4 songs I was about 10 minutes. So I could kind of gauge that way. And then all of a sudden, I forget what it was, but it was about 2 months before I was going to do it. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. So on one of my training days, I forget what, I don't know, maybe it was like on day like 300 or something like that of my workout challenge. I did a sprint triathlon just for fun. So, I did the swimming in my pool, hopped on my bike like 20 kilometers. And then I think it was a 5K run, and I did it. I was like, oh my God, like this was my goal. Not anymore. And so, yeah, just kept putting in more. So longer bike rides, like 30-kilometer bike rides, on a Saturday or a Sunday, and going for 10K runs and just laps in the pool. And I kind of split it up too, just because it's just so monotonous. But it'd be like, okay, today I'm going to do 20 minutes in the pool, and then 10K on the bike. And then tomorrow I'm doing 20 minutes in the pool, and then I'm going to go on a 5K run. So I just swapped it up. I just pushed myself through it, and I got it done. And then, of course, the craziest thing with all this, and you hear it about like top performers and stuff. So I guess I must be doing something right here. But like, I finished that, and I felt nothing. Finished this triathlon, felt nothing. Because on top of that, I didn't have any other goal really left to do, and that was it. I reached the top of the mountain, and all of a sudden had no more goal to do. So I kind of puttered around for the last couple months, from last year, like from September last year till now. And I should say I didn't really not create a goal. I created a goal just to put on as much mass as possible. And I did. I put on like 20 pounds, just like heavy lifting. None of my clothes were fitting. It was actually pretty brutal. Could barely do up my pants. But I just wanted to see how big I could get in such a short amount of time. Anyways, and then I created a new goal that I've got leading up to my birthday this year. I'm using AI, dial in my fitness, dial in my nutrition, dial in my workouts. I've been trying to stick to it as best as possible. It's been some crazy days here with some of the holidays and stuff, and how they're working out. But again, now I've got a plan. And fitness, I tell you what's funny is, if you ever watch any fitness guys, they talk about like the importance of carbs in people. So right now I have like almost 0 carbs every day, minus fruit, and just like minimal carbs, like 1 piece of bread max, is all I'm doing right now. And the lack of energy I have right now, so anyone who's done any working out or weightlifting or anything, like, yeah, your energy is definitely depleted when you're doing these things, and you feel a little bit sluggish, like when I went for my run today. But sticking with the plan, because I got a goal in mind on what I want to do. So so I'm just making sure that I follow that plan every day and staying consistent, showing up for myself, so that my future self will thank me for that, just like I thank my future self, or my past self, for all the work they put in for me. So that's it for today. These are my thoughts on the go, and just remember that whatever you do, do it like a pro and win.